Hi, everyone. My name is Anshi. And first of all, thank you for joining us. And I want to start by thanking Leah Ogawa, our director for this movie, for this beautiful, beautiful production that has brought the oral history stories of Glen, Nancy, and Donna to life. And thanks to Happy Fest for allowing the Houston Asian American Archive and Leah to be part of your 17th annual run of the film festival. We are very, very honored. So, Leah, as we have seen your Sunday screening of the film Love Letter to Houston, you showed us a little bit about the processes behind the scenes on puppetry production. Might want to start this interview with a little bit about your own experiences as a puppeteer and filmmaker. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So thank you and everybody. I so for Love Letter to Houston, I use stop motion, and actually during the pandemic, I started doing stop motion animation more because I could make I could make it by myself, and so the way I started doing puppetry is I went to college, and my college, Sarah Lawrence College, had a puppetry department that I had no idea before I attending that school. And then I took the puppetry class, and I just fell in love with the idea that this random paper, without human touch, it's just a paper, but when we touch them and transform them, it becomes a character. And so that really fascinated me. And so ever since that, I started to make my own work and also worked with other puppet artists doing shadows, like bunraku, Japanese puppet style, and just working with a bunch of different artists. Um, so for this film, I started to, yeah, for Love Letter, I started doing more of stop motion, and then for To Be Visible, I wanted to make like a toy theater, which is like a small version of theater, and then I never made a toy theater before, and so I wanted to. This I made it last year. To Be Visible, I made it last year, so yeah, I wanted to try something I can film since I couldn't perform live. So I was trying to figure out, I've been, always performing on stage, live audience, but I couldn't do that. So I kind of slowly started thinking, how can I do what I like to do in a different form? So, yes.
Thank you. And we know that you're mixed race in Asian, in particular Japanese and Caucasian ethnicity. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself growing up as mixed race person and how the stories of Glenn, Nancy, and Donna inform you about your own ancestry?
I grew up and I was born in Japan, and I moved to America when moved to Boston when I was around 13. And so the story of how I came here is actually my sister wanted to play basketball in America. And and then so my mom was like, "Do you wanna, Leah? Do you want to also go to America with your sister?" And so I said I was scared, but my dad was like, "If you want to learn English, you should go." So he kind of pushed me, and then in a good way. And so that's how I came to America. And also, I wanted to do arts, but I was in, a small town, and the environment. My mom was the only foreigner in my town. So my family was really famous because, oh, she's the half girl. And in Japan, people like me who are mixed are called half. So half Japanese, half white, or half Japanese, half something else. They just call group us in terms of half. Um, so my mom was the only white lady in my town, and so growing up, I mean, everybody was so nice, and I still talk to all my friends in Japan, but I think you could sense something somehow was off and you don't know why. And but I don't look Japanese. So in Japan, even though that's my first language, everybody's like, "Wow, you speak wonderful Japanese," and uh, and then but I'll be like, "But I'm from here," and so you always like battle within yourself. Am I Japanese enough? What is this? And then, but I didn't have anyone to talk about that situation because all my friends were Japanese and we just didn't talk about that kind of feeling. And then I moved to America, and then now they're like, you're Asian, you're Japanese. And so I was happy because I said, oh, now I'm fully Asian now. Even like, because it was just so interesting. Anyway, I think a lot of people who have something similar, this in-betweenness of what am I in terms of, what you identify yourself, but what people view you is different. And ultimately it's about what you believe, but sometimes the outside view is so powerful that you start getting frustrated. But the stories that I picked, I'm from Japan, so I'm not necessarily like my none of my family went to internment camp. um, but I know friends who I met here that their grandparents went to intern camp. And I think Asian communities or just people who are from a different country understand this feeling of, belonging but not belonging and trying to find meaning of home. So through that, I picked their stories because they're so powerful in owning their worth. And, they're all of them were so powerful in their interview saying, if you do good to the community, they will believe you. You just have to keep going, be there for the community. And so that power was inspire me to make this piece. And as a person too, to say, okay, we have to keep going and show that we are here and to be powerful and to own it. So yeah, so that's why I made this film.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful and empowering. And can you talk about how you came about the title "To Be Visible"? What do you want to be visible as seen as?
So I think these stories, every so the you the art, there's so many archive interviews, and I was listening to other ones too. But these stories, I don't think a lot of people know about, even within the Asian community. You know, it there's so many different cultures, different way of how they came to America, right? Asia's so big, like there's so many different stories and powerful stories, and um, sometimes it's told, but maybe not told in the way that um, many people realize, like their crazy story, like the way they came to America or the way so I think I wanted to, like, yeah, shine light and be like, we're here, we're seen, we've been here, it's yeah, it's we're here. Like, I think that message I wanted to convey.
So, what would you like people to, take away with your medium in puppetry animation?
Oh, I think these interviews are important, and I didn't want to make a film to overshadow or you know take a I wanted to tell this interview so that people listen to the interview more. So like a sugar and not sugar, just a little hint of like a nice touch up so that people can hear the words and the voices that they're telling. um, And so puppetry, these paper cutouts, it's super simple but really honest. It's personal. It's it's more delicate, so that maybe I hope that audience can listen to their voices and interpret their story and their own, and connect to the film. Yeah.
And if you think of it, like the way the stories they were telling were traumatizing. There were a lot of pain and struggle, and but the way that you could relive those experiences and reveal them through another medium that is accessible, that gives people imagination and hope for the future. That's absolutely, yeah, that touches, I mean, me personally, really, really, really well.
I think puppetry, that's one thing, like you said, it gives enough space for the viewer to interpret on their own way. And so that's also reason why I'm also drawn to puppetry, because it give the imagination is up to the viewer, and so we meet in the middle, and you know uh, creates the story. So that's something special that puppetry can do.
Yeah, creates a little bit of a distance, but at the same time leaves room. Um, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Leah, for acknowledging me with all these answers, and just share, like, working with you was sheer joy. And
Me too. Thank you.